with the idea of traveling on your own, especially if you haven't done much traveling before. In this second episode, I'll be continuing with the overview of how to get started, focusing on the tools I use to research, plan, and book my travel. I'll also go over why traveling alone isn't the lonely experience you may think it is. Okay, you've got your passport, you've probably picked out a destination, and now it's time to do some research. One of the first websites I go to is lonelyplanet.com. They have great write-ups and photos for pretty much anywhere that tourism is a thing. It's a great resource if you picked a country and you want to find out about all the major cities and attractions, and it's also awesome for just getting ideas of where in the world you want to go next. If you're lacking inspiration, just browse around Lonely Planet for a while and you'll have a dozen ideas in about an hour. Now, one of the other first sites I go to is Google Flights. Now, I know everybody has their favorite flight website for booking, whether it's Skytracker or Kayak.com or whatever you use, go with that if you're comfortable with it. But there are some really great features that have kept me coming back over the years. One of the things I love is that if you have very specific dates you can travel, you can put in those dates, plus your departure city, and basically search for travel deals to destinations worldwide. Oh, hey look, Reykjavik for $4.92 US, not bad. It also has tons of options if you know your destination but you're flexible on your dates. Another great website that is very popular is TripAdvisor. TripAdvisor I use later on in the process when I'm either through Lonely Planet or my own other research I find out which countries and cities I want to go to. TripAdvisor is great for finding out where you want to go within each of those places. Sometimes there's a major attraction in a city that just closed down or it's closed down for the season, and you would have no way of knowing that unless you just saw a TripAdvisor review, posted by a user maybe a week ago. So it's good for up-to-the-minute info on major attractions. Before I talk about the last website I use, let's take a step back and talk about that question I teased earlier. How do you not get lonely while solo traveling? To be fair, there have been times when I felt lonely while traveling. I think just about every solo traveler has felt that. However, in my experience, it's not the crippling, soul-crushing loneliness that you're probably imagining. I find that it actually gives you a type of energy that pushes you towards other people. It's almost like a good kind of anxiety, if there is a such thing, that makes you want to come out of your shell, make friends, and connect with other travelers. With that said, you might be wondering, yeah, but how do you meet other travelers? Do you just wander around and start talking with other tourists you see? Well, not exactly. Since we've decided we're not doing a package tour, which, by the way, are totally legitimate and viable options if you prefer that, the best way I've found to find the social aspect of travel is by staying at hostels. Now, I know what a lot of you Americans are thinking. Hostels, wasn't that a horror movie made a couple years ago? Yes, there was a horror movie made by Eli Roth a couple years ago. Unfortunately, it gave hostels a bad name in America because that was the first time a lot of Americans had heard that word. So let me set the record straight for my friends from the States. Hostels are awesome, especially for solo travelers. Now, if you're in your 30s like me, you'll probably have some extra considerations when selecting a hostel, but we'll get to that later. Hostels, to me, are based on a couple of core concepts. First, they encourage adventure. They are not all-inclusive resorts. They are not meant to be an oasis of comfort for you to stay inside and avoid the country you're visiting. The staff are most often travelers themselves who are genuinely helpful people who love what they do and want to get you out there and adventuring. Secondly, hostels encourage you to be social. Every hostel has a common area where travelers mingle, share stories or advice, and play games. It's easy to make friends, mostly because you are all there for the same reason, but also because everyone is a little outside their comfort zone, being in a foreign country. It's a daily thing to meet new people and make plans for a group activity the following day, and it's not uncommon to meet people that you end up traveling with for the rest of your trip. Lastly, hostels are about simplicity. Some may not have hot water, others lack air conditioning, or even Wi-Fi. While these are definitely sacrifices, there's also something special about letting go of your first world comforts and realizing you don't need them to get the full experience from your vacation. You might even feel that they've been holding you back. Alright, so you picked a country you want to go to, you picked the places you want to go to in that country, made a list of a few of the sites you want to see. Now, it's time to figure out where you want to stay. The last major website I use for my travel research, one that maybe not everybody has heard of, is Hostelworld. Hostelworld is useful for two reasons. First, it gives hostels a unique platform to advertise who they are. all hostels have a personality, and you want to find one that matches yours. The second way I use Hostelworld is as a kind of popularity index. If you search a whole country, like Vietnam for instance, then scroll to the bottom, there's a map with markers for each town with a hostel. If there's a place with dozens of hostels, you can be pretty sure it's popular with backpackers, and you'll have an easy time booking tours, meeting people, and arranging transportation. On the other hand, if you're looking for a less touristy experience, you'll likely find it in a place that has only 1 or 2 hostels listed. Just be aware that these less popular places will probably require more effort from you as a tourist. One last tip. If you do find a place you'd like to book on hostelworld.com, I encourage you to Google it first, just to make sure that the hostel doesn't have its own website where you might find a cheaper price. Okay, so we've talked about hostels a lot, and I can already hear some of you saying, wait, I've heard about hostels before. Aren't those just for college-age kids? I feel that most backpackers do tend to be between the ages of 20 and 30, because, like I said earlier, older people tend to get tied down. But I've met tons of people my age and older in my travels as well. More than that, it can be really rewarding to become friends with and learn from people around the world, no matter their age. Also, if you're anxious about being the old person in a group, I think you'll be surprised at how little age actually matters to other travelers. I think it's because everyone is there in a foreign country to explore, to experience, and to adventure, and that is such a powerful thing to have in common. Much more powerful than a difference in age. With that said, you may not want the same party hostel at 31 that you would have picked at 21. Or maybe you would. I once saw a couple in their 70s hanging out all day at one of the biggest party hostels I've ever been to, so no judgment here. Just make sure that a hostel's description matches what you're looking for before you book it. The next question after the age thing is always, don't you have to sleep in a dorm? While hostels are often defined by their dormitory-style beds, I personally choose to only stay in hostels that offer private rooms. In my opinion, this is one of the greatest perks of traveling at this age, is that I actually have the money to go backpacking without sleeping in a dorm. So decide for yourself what you're willing to do, what you're willing to put up with. You know, if you go into a dorm, there's a good chance you're going to get woken up early morning by somebody packing their bags. You're going to get woken up late at night by somebody coming in, probably drunk, and having sex in their bunk above you. It happens probably too often, so personally, I feel like I'm 32, I'm a little over dealing with all that, so I get a private room. But, you know, your mileage may vary. Choose what you want. Alright, that's enough for this episode. Hit subscribe to hear about future episodes where I'll be talking about safety, transportation, hostel etiquette, and many other topics. Leave any feedback in the comments, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram. I'm Joe Horniman, and this is Backpacking in Your 30s. I'll see you around the world.